we didn't really have anything to work off of for budget. And we wanted to really we wanted to use our community and the people that we were working with to kind of spread the awareness a lot more instead of spending money on ads.
Hey, I'm Corrina.
And I'm Taylor.
And this is Direct, a podcast we created to showcase the creativity and hard work of go-to-market teams everywhere.
We're here to share the stories and experiences of the hardworking, passionate individuals who make up go-to-market teams, the ones who truly make the magic happen.
Taylor and I have been fortunate enough to work side by side on some incredible projects together, and now we want to put a spotlight on the unsung heroes behind some of the best go-to-market campaigns out there.
In each episode, you'll hear from individual contributors who have gone above and beyond to make a difference. They'll share their challenges, victories, and the lessons they've learned along the way, all to help you unlock the next step in your career. Get ready to be inspired, learn something new, maybe even share a laugh or two.
Welcome to Direct. Welcome back to another episode of Direct with Corrina and Taylor. I'm Corrina.
And I'm Taylor.
And today we're joined by Jon Mazza. Jon is a husband, a father of three, and the head of growth at Pitchfire. Jon started his career in tech, like many others, as an SDR way before landing a job at Lead IQ as one of their first on their go-to-market team. When he's not planning and executing marketing on a rather budget-friendly marketing budget, you'll likely find him in the kitchen perfecting his pasta sauce recipe or beating his kids at Mario Kart. And if that wasn't enough accolades, he's also a two-time karaoke competition winner. Jon, what is your go-to karaoke song? We have to know.
I have a few of them. I stick to like 90s R&B for the most part.
Ooh, okay.
Like some Boys to Men. I'll Make Love to You. That was the first song I ever sang to my wife. That's actually how I met my wife. Was I saw her in the audience and I sang that song.
Damn, that is like a rom-com movie setup if I've ever heard of one. I love it. I love it.
The crowd pleaser overall is No Diggity by Blackstreet.
No doubt.
That's the one that won the competitions.
Oh, damn, nice. Amazing. I love all the factoids you gave us. So anybody listening, if you're trying to get Jon's attention, you now have a wealth of information to go after Jon with. But Jon, before we dive into what we're here to talk to you about today, which we're all super excited about, we always ask our guests one question.
And that question is, if you had a magic wand and you could wave that magic wand to get anything that you wanted in your personal life, your career, what would you use that magic wand for?
Well, I saw that you had a magic wand. You mind if I have that one for real? I would love to have a magic wand. So if I had a magic wand, I've listened to your podcast, so I've thought of this question. And I definitely, if I had a magic wand, I would use it to give everybody an unlimited amount of confidence. I think confidence is something that I've struggled with. I'm sure many people have struggled with in the past, and being confident in yourself, and I think is what holds a lot of people back and what keeps people from kind of doing the same things that they're used to seeing every day, whether you're in marketing or sales or whatever role you're in. I think if everybody just had the confidence in themselves to do what they actually want to do with their lives and with, their marketing, with their outreach and whatever they're doing, then, the whole world would be a lot more fun. I think there'd be a lot more creativity out there. And it's just an exciting place where everybody's happy if we're just more confident in ourselves.
Yeah, and it comes from within, which is so unfortunate. I mean, I have been like a lifelong external validation seeker, and it doesn't do the trick. So yeah, it's got to totally come from within. And I don't know if I want everyone to have confidence like that. There are some people that I would be scared of that do already have that confidence. But I think I know the pool of types of people you're talking about. And
For
I think
sure,
that is, yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. I can't wait to revisit that at the bottom. So, all right, Jon, we're here today. And I'm actually really excited because we haven't had anybody yet on the pod to talk about events, particularly as bold of an event that you did. And for everybody listening, Jon recently with Pitchfire put on an online event. And the tagline for that was the online go-to-market conference to end all online go-to-market conferences. I was hooked from that tagline alone. I'm curious, like what made you and the team at Pitchfire like fired up to be so bold with a statement like that?
So, uh, to be honest, I don't think we were trying to do anything like crazy or innovative at the time. We've been to a lot of online conferences. We've seen a lot of online conferences, especially since the remote world, COVID, everything hit, and everybody was going to online conferences, and we were actually enjoying them because we were able to see people, even though it was on a computer screen. We were able to see, interact, and talk with other people that were out there and still learn things for our jobs. But to end all online conferences, though, and the reason we kind of came up with that tagline is because a lot of companies are doing online conferences, especially now. I don't think they're doing them correctly. You put on this big online conference, this big online event, and spend half the time pitching your product or a new thing a new service that you're putting out with your product, but you haven't really earned the right to do that. And for the most part, there's very few companies that have earned the right to talk about the new innovative thing that they're coming out with right now. But anybody that's really throwing an online conference right now, half the time they spend pitching their new products. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to make an event where it's more about the people that are being there, put on something that's not just a place where you can learn, but something that's actually entertaining and that you can enjoy going to and want to interact with. So that's kind of, the idea we had going into it was we want to kill online conferences the way they are now. And hopefully people are going to start using them to just put on an event where people can have fun, learn something new, waste some time, while instead of going to like their 16th meeting of the day, spend some time to, catch up on some new topics and actually enjoy themselves while they're doing it.
Well, and there's two things that I kind of want to dig into there. I think you're right. Like when I think of this conference, and I did speak at it too. I never was going into it with like, how can I help elevate Pitchfire?
Mhm.
I never felt that at all based on the curation of your topics, the curation of your speakers. So let's dive into that a little bit. What was kind of your approach to building the content and structure for this conference?
So the we actually my CEO and I went over his house one day and we were talking about this, and it was like we started Conference Con basically like my first month going full time at the company. And it kind of came about when I was looking at an online event thrown by Apollo called Olympus. And Apollo is probably one of those companies where they kind of earned the right to actually start pitching their products and talking about their new innovative ideas and stuff like that. They're a unicorn company, and we're like, we're this 4-person startup with this new product and everything, but we also have a tiny email list, and we want to figure out what the heck we want to do with our content in the future. So we were like, we definitely want to throw some events in the future, but we don't want to, just have the same interview style, no, panels and bringing people in that, we didn't want to put on an event where there was panels basically and stuff like that. We wanted to like throw something where there was like some sort of fun involved. So when we were thinking about it, it was like, let's make sure every event has its own gimmick. So what are we going to do if each event has gimmicks? We want to throw some games. We want to have debates. We want to have people, instead of just like the same, just like asking a question and going to one person for an answer, moving on to the next person. We want people to actually argue with each other. We don't want people with the same kind of styles and ideas. And when I was thinking about like some of the people that could be on it, and I was like reaching out to people to actually be guests and speakers for the events, I wanted to mix up people with different backgrounds. So bring in like people with sales backgrounds, people who started a company, founders, CEOs, marketers, and kind of have them all talking with each other about specific topics. But I also wanted to make sure we had some of those events, like, where people can learn specific things, where, we had an event called Rate My Pitch, where where we were helping people with their email and their outreach and their pitches for the outbound sides of things. And then we had the landing page wars for marketers. We were helping marketers come up with different ideas for their landing pages. So like we wanted to have events like that, but we wanted to make sure each event had its own gimmick and was entertaining. And it was something that the audience can actually interact with and engage with, have a say in to who's doing well at the same time too.
That is such an innovative approach. As you said, an incredibly entertaining approach. But as I think about conferences where there are sponsors, how did you overcome maybe getting speakers in to be comfortable with such a new idea and concept of having people working through, live debates, controversial debates, game show style challenges, all live? How did you get your speakers comfortable with that?
So that was scary. That was the scariest part kind of going into this. And when I was reaching out to, so I did all the outreach to all the speakers and got all the sponsors and everything involved by myself. And we had over 25 sponsors and speakers that were involved in this. So it was quite the challenge. But when I was finding people that I wanted to speak at this event and kind of get them involved, each person I reached out to, I had in mind a couple different areas that I thought that they'd be really good at speaking at. And I mentioned that in my outreach to them specifically. So, when Corrina, for instance, when I asked her to be on landing page wars, she's somebody that I respect in marketing when it comes to, a lot of different areas when it comes to her marketing and her writing specifically, which I think a lot of companies have challenges with when it comes to their landing pages. So when I was reaching out to her, I specifically mentioned that in my outreach. So I think that is one area. If reaching out to these speakers, specifically letting them know the areas that I thought they were really good at and where I thought they would excel during the event in their session, I wrote that out to them. And I also, I think a lot of people kind of engaged with our webpage copy, our landing page copy for the event itself. So a lot of people, they would get on the event and it's kind of a lot of little jokes and puns and stuff like that on the webpage to kind of make it a little more silly and engaging and fun for people to read. That was another thing that a lot of people really were like, I love what you guys are doing. Sign me up for it. Doesn't even matter.
Oh, 100%. I think I told you too. I mean, that was one of the biggest reasons I said yes to you. It was definitely your intentionality and personalization. But when you pulled it up for me, I was like, oh my God, this is different. This is
Yeah.
cool. To your point, this is something as like your target audience, that speaker or not, I would want to be a part of. And what I found, that was really interesting too, was the live day of. You did a really good job about bringing that energy through too. So, which can be very tricky, right? Because you can build a lot of buzz, and then maybe sometimes you get on these events, you can tell they've been pre-recorded, preloaded, whenever. That definitely was not the case for you guys. So can you walk us through a little bit about how you approach carrying that buzz and that same sentiment through the live event?
Yeah, so we used StreamYard for it, which is a little bit of different. We were brand new to StreamYard, but we wanted to make it a little bit fun looking. The event itself, just and being able to change the backgrounds and put speakers and front and center and everything like that. But one thing that we did is my CEO and I and our VP of sales, so Ryan and Jeremy, we also had somebody, George Theodoro, helping us out that day, helping, with the camera and stuff. So we had some help. We were all in the same house working together for it. So I think that was one thing that we were able to kind of play off each other's energies while we were there. So we weren't just sitting alone by ourselves in a room. And we also set up our background. We had a big screen TV with a fireplace in the background. We all wore plaid, and I wore pajamas. I wore overalls and a plaid shirt.
You sure did.
I was growing my hair out for a year, and I cut my hair into a mullet the night before. So just to be silly and
Yep.
kind of, hope some of our speakers that were there kind of give them a little bit of a laugh while, because it's a serious event, but it's not serious at the same time. Like we don't want people to take it too seriously. So we wanted to show that to people through like the visuals and being able to, play off each other's energies while we were there was something that was really great too.
I don't think that can be understated enough because I mean, truly, there's some speakers like that just keep going through the speaker circuit all the time, right? That's a
Yeah.
big emphasis about our podcast too, is that we don't want to be all of the same. Like we want to bring, new original voices to the forefront. But to your point too, though, all those speakers that I may see like on a lot of different online events, it's always the same background. They're always dressed exactly the same. And I get that for like their brand and all of that. But I loved coming on and seeing the fireplace and the plaid. And I also loved that you could tell, like, I mean, I've never seen George's face, but I heard you talk to George, the guy behind the camera,
Yeah.
and it just made everybody feel kind of much more a part of it, which is so hard to do. I mean, I used to work for a virtual events services company, and it's so hard to get people to feel like they're like in the room with you. And those tiny little details, I definitely think they made all the difference. I'm curious, did you get any either live or post-event feedback from speakers or even your attendees that like commented on any of that aspect?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were commenting on my hair and our outfits, especially speakers, which is my favorite part is a lot of the speakers that were coming to us. They like some of them were nervous just because some of like the events themselves were different from like the events that they were used to. But I got some feedback saying that they had a great time. They had a lot of fun. They appreciated what we were doing and would love to do more events like that with us in the future. And that's like exactly what we were looking for when we put that together. So, because when we were thinking about this, is like what are some events? Let's throw on a bunch of events and like choose some of the events that we had the most fun with, that the speakers like doing the most, and do more of those in the future. And a few events in particular had a ton of really good feedback from the people that were there. So we know we want to do a lot of events in the future for like founders and small Startups. We're going to be doing a lot more events for marketers. So like what we learned from the feedback alone is going to help us moving forward with the content that we're going to create in the future.
Yeah, that is such an incredible approach to it. It's so exciting that you guys have a lot of interest in actually throwing more events and collaborating more because of how unique and different you made it. At the top, Corrina also mentioned that you guys are working with a really scrappy budget to do this. So you created a ton of buzz and you held that momentum where you got a ton of great feedback after the event. Thinking about these future events, how did you work with a really scrappy budget in order to create this buzz? And I mean, it sounds like you guys had video equipment and everything live in-house. What was all of that like? Can you help take us through it?
Yeah, luckily we all already had our own video equipment and lighting and stuff like that from like previous companies that we worked at, and like we used to all make a ton of video content, so we already had all the video equipment and stuff set up. So luckily we didn't have to spend any budget on that. The only thing we had to spend budget on was the StreamYard service. So a month of StreamYard that we purchased. We actually ended up purchasing it for the year. And then I wanted to have a little bit of a budget set aside for actually giving a little bit to the people that helped us out. So all the speakers got some cookies from Grove Cookie Company. I sent them over some cookies for helping out in the event. Other than that, we didn't really have anything to work off of for budget. And we wanted to really we wanted to use our community and the people that we were working with to kind of spread the awareness a lot more instead of spending money on ads. We thought that we wanted a lot of help from the speakers that were helping out. We tried to work with their marketing teams and have send out an email for us on our behalf, because we didn't really have much of an email list ourselves, so we were only emailing a few hundred people. But we wanted to have some other companies to email even more to bring more people in. So thinking about like how we didn't have any money to spend on ads or budget or article in Newswire or whatever, like we wanted to make sure we had used social media, used the community that we've already helped create with our user base, and then help with by sponsors and the speakers that we're helping out promoting the event on social media and their own email platforms.
So, John, obviously, you're working on shoestring budget maybe, and you don't have all the resources in the world. That's a story so many marketers are familiar with. Taking something like this is a pretty large thing to take on, in addition to all the other responsibilities you have. How did you manage ensuring a very successful event to this size and scope while maintaining your other roles and responsibilities?
Yes. So I'm the worst time manager of all time. I am definitely this is an area that I struggle with quite a bit, is actually managing my own time. I work like random hours throughout the day. Sometimes I'm online at night and early in the morning, but like, I have kids at home and stuff like that are acting crazy, and sometimes I just want to, drop what I'm doing and go hang out with them or whatever, or do some cooking or whatever. So like my time management is something that I need to do a lot better of. And it kind of was difficult when you're trying to manage over 25 different people for sponsors and speakers that were actually helping us out with this event. And the biggest area that I struggled with was actually making sure was communicating, keeping on point with the communication with the speakers and sponsors. I think that's like the number one thing, that if I were to do it all over again, was to make sure to have a better plan for managing the communication with the speakers and the sponsors, because I think, this event, we had a pretty decent turnout and everything, but I think we could have made it 5 times better if the communication with the marketing teams and the sponsors that were actually helping out with the social outreach and the email outreach, to make sure that all the sponsors are actually getting out their email outreach and their social outreach. Because you might have them on board and think everybody's good to go because you have verbals and stuff like that from people saying, yeah, we love your idea, we definitely want to help you out, and we'll be putting in an email, we'll be putting out a social post. And then you never see an email or a social post go out from that sponsor or that speaker. I think that's the biggest area where I struggled with, and I think that moving forward on future events is definitely the thing I want to make sure to have a more structure around, and building out a specific plan, just in case anybody has any specific questions. What are we going to do? This is exactly what we're expecting for our outreach. These are the dates that we should be doing the outreach, and then get confirmation on all that information, especially when you are working with that shoestring budget, and you don't have we don't have like a huge email list to rely on to have tons of people that are going to be there. We were relying on sponsors and speakers to help out, and we're going to be in the future, because we're still a small company. Yeah, we added a few hundred extra people into our list to reach out to in the future. But if 25 sponsors and 25 speakers, that's a lot of different people to kind of manage all at once. If I were to do things all over again a little bit more, I would just make sure to work on the communication with the speakers and the sponsors more, for sure, though.
Well, I could definitely speak to that. I think that I actually felt like you took a little bit more care to the communication than maybe some other event sponsors that I've worked with in the past. I could definitely tell you were passionate about it. I could definitely feel like it was your baby. And so I actually felt more obligated than I would normally, just because it was very clear that you really cared about it. And it never felt pushy, it never felt spammy. So maybe it felt that way, like that. I mean, we're all our own worst critics, right? But I can at least
Mhm.
speak to the perspective that, like, I felt that there was a lot of attention to detail, and you were super flexible. So if I couldn't meet with everybody on my panel, you just met with me one on one, and that sucked for you because that meant that you had to do like twice the work. But it worked for me, and that was just like a really white glove approach, I think, to how you approach your speakers. That for your benefit, hopefully you can scale in the future. But I think that stuff like that goes a long way, especially when you're starting out. And I think that it'll make it even easier next time to get people to, one, just get bought in, and two, to also do that promotion with you.
Yeah, but we're a scrappy small company. It's like, what are you going to do to stand out? I try to build personal relationships with a lot of the people that I reach out to, and respect in the industry. And you know, everybody that I invited on, I invited them all for a reason. I didn't invite them because they were a speaker somewhere. And I've
Yep.
seen them speaking at different events. Like all these people that I invited in, I legitimately am interested in the things that they have to say. And I feel like, they're all really great people that a lot of people can learn from. And being able to make sure I think I really appreciate what you said. And I definitely worked hard at it. But I think the confirmation piece is really the key to it. And that's luckily I had some help the last 3 weeks going up to the event. I had some part-time help for people to help kind of commute, with communication. So if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for Sabrina Jouters and George Theodoro helping out with kind of helping with communication with sponsors and speakers, I they're lifesavers. So thank you, Sabrina and George, if you're out there.
Well, it's obvious that you care so much about relationships just with that shout out, with, your insights looking back, that communication is something that you would improve. Even among that, shoestring budget that you have, you set aside the time and effort to show appreciation to the people who contributed. And that's so powerful when you could have used that elsewhere and maybe not created and cemented those relationships into what Karina was saying, being very thoughtful about how you were talking to each other. You'd also mentioned that you had, a couple hundred new contacts and you have a ton of great feedback. Are there any other like success metrics that you were thinking about as you guys were getting this underway? That maybe not a metric or a number, but something that was just like, if we do this, we'll know that this was a success.
So yes, that's a great question. So overall, we actually had a lot of people that watched the event afterwards, which is really cool. We had about 600 people that were actually there live to watch the event,
Wow.
which is, I mean, that's like basically our entire list. So like having
Yeah.
having other people kind of reach out for us, and 600 people actually coming to the event live was something that was really really amazing. And then like another few hundred people watched it afterwards. So and then we put it up online on Gated for everybody to kind of watch it too, which is pretty cool. So having an extra couple hundred people watch it from there was something that was really cool. But we actually our website traffic for the month more than tripled, more consistently throughout the month too. So we had I think that was something that was a little bit like, yeah, we were hoping for, but unexpected. So because I think it like created a lot of buzz, and it had a lot of people kind of talking about it. And one thing, like my favorite thing to hear is I keep hearing about you guys. I keep hearing about Pitchfire. Like and we heard that a ton afterwards, especially. So like that's like something that you can't really, you know, measure or scale, is the amount of people that come, just you're having conversations with. It's like I keep hearing about you guys everywhere. And that's like, and being able to that, and then being able to see the website traffic grow. We had a slight increase in the amount of users signing up for our platform that's stayed there since ConferenceCon too. So just being able to see like the residual effects of like putting on an event with some buzz, and having more people know about our company when we weren't even trying to stuff it down their throats during the event, is pretty cool.
Which is, I think, what made it successful. And all that little anecdotal little feedback is huge. Screenshot that, keep that in a folder. Do it,
Yeah.
anytime you have a upcoming review, performance review, when you do your event debrief setting. Like I never just relied on like the typical standard metrics. I always sought to bring in that real time feedback, the screenshots of like, wow, this was so amazing. Even executives like gush over that. So they love to see that. So that's so great to hear that you got that too. I'm just curious. So now that you've had the success, right? Now that you've kind of changed the game for virtual events, you shook it up. Is there an appetite to also now shake up in-person events as well?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I love in-person events. Like when just going back to my Elite IQ days, like if it wasn't for in-person events, I, we probably wouldn't have made it. I think like in-person events were our bread and butter early on, because kind of like Conference Con. We tried to stick out like a sore thumb when we were out at events. We wore loud shirts, suits, clothing, whatever. We had a fireplace at our table on the TV instead of showing our pitch. We had an arm wrestling competition one time. Like we never really had any money for swag or anything crazy. So like we wanted to do little things to stand out and help people in different ways. And we'd help people with their emails and and stuff like that at our tables too. And we'd always go around and talk to other people, and we wanted to learn about other people. And I think like networking and showing your personality and going out there is like huge at in-person events. And we want to work with a lot more companies to throw some of these in-person events. And that's another reason why Conference Cons even kind of started in the first place, is we helped throw an in-person event in Boston like about a year ago now. It was actually before I was at the company officially, but I was there. They let me sponsor as my other company that I was with at the time that I was advising for. And I got a free sponsor. There was just a free sponsorship for them. There was one company backed out and they were like, we already paid for this event, but we can't make it. You guys all come in and join in. It was a ping pong tournament. And, it was a really good time, and it was a little bit different. You don't usually go to events and want to have a ping pong tournament with people. And we were like, that was something that was a little bit different and something we wanted to, to kind of carry over into the other event. And like, that event was free for us, and we worked with other people and it was free for them. And like, let's make this event where it's free for all sponsors. And we kind of want to carry that over into in-person events. And like, let's do the bare minimum when it comes to, we don't want to make profits off of these events that we're throwing together.
Yeah.
We want everybody to profit off of the people that are coming in the community that you're building, and the networking you can do. Cause like, I think that's another thing too, is like you sign up for all these events as a sponsor and you got to pay tons of money just for a list. And I think like, that's really all you're getting. You're getting a list. You may get some, your company's name seen and everything, but you're really just getting a list, and you're getting a chance to reach out to some people that you might not have been able to reach out to before. But we want like to throw some in-person events. We want to have parties. We want to have fun. We want to do different things. Like I want to bring people to like a trampoline park or, arcade, or like do something cool and fun and different, instead of your typical online events or in-person events. Cause like, that's another thing too. You can go to an in-person event and everybody just kind of stands around for a drink and with a drink in their hands. And like, so what do we talk about? Do we talk about business stuff or what? I think that's something that, can be helped with in-person events too, is giving people something real to talk about, giving them a good time to talk about, giving them something fun to do and kind of work on that, and maybe some like problem solving skills and stuff like that. And just like getting people to let down their guards and open up to the people that are around them, which is another thing that I think a lot of in-person events they can be scary for people. I'm an introvert. I may dress loud sometimes and go out when I go out to events and, try to stick out. But I'm afraid to talk to everybody that I go up to, really. And I think that's like, if you give people something to do together, it helps them open up a little bit more. And that's kind of something that I want to carry over for like in-person events. Like, what can we do differently? What can we do to get people to kind of break down their guards? And even the introverted people like myself, like, how do we get them to open up and start talking and network better? And how can we help them in their roles in the future? And that's like, what I want to do, what we want to do in the future.
I love that perspective, because I can resonate completely with being an introvert and very uncomfortable in these things. Even though my hair is loud and like people will recognize me and come talk to me about it, I'm always like awkward turtle. But I love that so much. So many great insights from you today. I think, Corrina, if you want to go ahead and wrap up with the final magic wand question. It's been a blast talking to you about
Yes.
everything today.
Yeah, and I just want to tag on to that too. I think that it's even though like I used to identify as an extrovert and I don't really as much anymore. And I think the pandemic really did change that for a lot of people. People really are out of practice. I'm advising a lot of companies right now who are trying to go back in person. And I have them come back to me and they say, Corrina, I think we need to like warm people up to figure out like to know what to talk about. So it's just like a universal thing now. And I think that you being mindful of that and cognizant of that with the how you approach the content for your attendees. And then also I think you being cognizant of the sponsorship angle, right? Because like the big trade shows of the world, it does become transactional if you make it this pay to play thing. So in nature, I think you've got a formula for a very, very successful virtual or in-person event. And with that, your magic wand was a very thoughtful response and it was a very giving, I think, kind of wand. Again, you've been very giving in how you approach your content. And I'm struggling with like the best thing to give back to you because we always like to give our listeners like a little bit of that magic wand for them. But Taylor actually helped me realize that I think the answer probably is with you. And it's not easy to put ourselves out there. It's terrifying. We're so open to scrutiny. As public as I may even seem, I'm still like a terrified baby about how the world perceives me and how they're going to judge me. And I hate rejection. But there's showing the vulnerability in that is going to make somebody else feel comfortable to try and feeling like they can connect to somebody like them. I would love to see more of Jon. I would love to see more of Jon on LinkedIn or more podcasts or wherever Jon wants to show up. I just want to see more of you because I do connect with that energy. I think Taylor connects with that energy and I think it does have a ripple effect. So it's not the most thought-provoking maybe response, but I think that seeing you just boldly display who you are is going to allow just maybe one other person to feel confident, boldly display who they are too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I totally agree with that too. I mean, and I think you kind of bringing it back to your Taylor's point or Corrina's point when it comes to like in-person events and like how we're used to like in the remote world, it's very, very different to start a conversation with somebody when you're like remote and talking to them. Like I feel like I'm a completely different person in person than I am when I'm, sitting in my screen in the comfort of my own home. I actually feel like more like I don't know what to do. What do I talk about? What do I do when I'm in person? Because I don't know. I think I like move my body a lot, and I like to like get out there and and everything. And I used to make a ton more videos before we were in person, because I like to make my video content with other people. And I think like that's something that I'm missing now is like actually being able to create and bounce ideas off of other people and create those video content. Because most of my old LinkedIn feed is just LinkedIn content, tons of videos. And I definitely want to get back to that and creating more video content for the future for sure. And I will.
Do
I
it.
promise.
Yes. Good. We can't wait to see it.
I already
Well,
have
Jon.
I have like spreadsheets and everything and like documents
Oh,
of like
wow.
of like skits and so yeah, I have like all that stuff already written up. I just need other people to do it with.
Well, I'm here if you ever want to bounce anything off. I can't claim to be that great, but I would love to do it. And I'm sure some of the other people would love to do it too. So Jon, if there are people out there that want to join you for a skit, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, I love to communicate on LinkedIn. So follow me on LinkedIn, Jon Mazza, no H, just JON, 3 letters.
Love it. Jon, thank you so much. Thank you for being you. And please just continue to do so. And we can't wait to see what else you do next.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Direct with Corrina and Taylor.
If you enjoyed what you heard in today's episode, please give us a follow, maybe even a 5-star review, wherever you listen to your podcast.
And if you know someone that you'd like to spotlight, or if you want to share your own story, visit us at motionagency.io/direct. We'd love to hear from you.